Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody is having a good week, staying healthy, and staying strong. In this class, everyone, we are looking at IELTS reading. We are going to be practicing some skills for that band 9. This is a members chat class. Of course, everybody is welcome to watch. This is an academic reading, but for all the general IELTS students, as long as you can do well in the academic reading, you will do fantastic on the general version of the exam as well. While we wait for some members, this class is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Visit us there. For the general IELTS, check us out at IELTShelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. On both of those websites, we have lots and lots of materials to help you improve your communication and your English vocabulary and grammar for the IELTS exam. We have over 100 hours of HD video lessons, 6 full practice exams, and a fully interactive course. Welcome, Lizzie. Hi, Hemant. Hi, Kyber. Welcome, Janelle. Welcome, members. While we wait for a few more of your peers, this is the academic IELTS website here with the blue background. You can click this big red button to join our premium package. It is a one-time payment for lifetime access, and we are a British Council IELTS Test Registration Center and certified agents. I'll give you a discount code for our premium package. R4TYJ will get you a 20% discount. After you click this red button, just apply that discount code. And for the general IELTS, it's the green background. And again, you can click that big red button there to join our premium package. Once again, it is a one-time payment for lifetime access. Of course, we have native apps that power our courses as well. Academic IELTS Help links to aehelp.com. General IELTS Help links to gieltshelp.com. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. That's my name, at aehelp.com. After this class, we will have a task 2 writing class coming up in about 90 minutes where everybody will be able to join in on the chat. So let's take a look at today's reading passage. Got a challenging one for you today. It's reading passage 3. And we have a nice little picture here, and then we have the title, Physalia Physalis, whatever that means. We'll figure that out in 1 second. We've got lots of members in the class now. That's fantastic. Hello, everyone. Kyber's asking, what time do I wake up? For these classes, I wake up at 4:30 a.m., and let me tell you, it's actually a great feeling to wake up that early. I'm waking up with the sun. That's almost at sunrise here on the west coast of Canada, Kyber. So, all right, everyone. So, reading in the IELTS exam, you've got 3 passages in the academic version of the test. You do not have to start with passage 1. You can start with any passage. You should start with the passage that you think will be the easiest for you. So in order to decide that, take a look at the title of each of the passages. In the computer-based exam, it's really quick to do that because you can just click at the bottom of your screen in your official test to jump through the 3 passages. Now, for many people, this might be very challenging, but hey, who knows? Some of you out there might be a biology major, and you might have done lots of reading in English in biology, and in that case, this might be your passage of choice. Preeti's asking, so what time do you sleep? I sleep at around 9 o'clock on these days, Preeti. All right. Yeah, Sammy, I've changed the setup a little bit to make it a bit better. It's a different studio. Okay, everyone. So your first step when you're ready to do a reading passage is to look at the title. And if you have a picture, there's a wise saying in English, and I think it's in other languages as well. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Is anybody familiar with that expression? It basically means that pictures have a lot of content. Okay, so let me just write that up for you. You can note that somewhere in a document or in your notebook. So there's a saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay, it basically means, and it's very true, there is a lot of content, or we can say information, in pictures. And surely one proof of that is when you save a picture versus a Word document on your computer, it takes a lot more data. So yeah, Sammy says, yeah, I've heard that, but in a different way. How have you heard that, Sammy? A picture is worth 1,000 words. So if you have a picture in your IELTS exam for your reading passage, definitely take a moment to consider what you can learn from that picture. It will help you to understand the passage, and often when the topic's challenging, like this one, they will include a picture with the test or with the reading. So if you see a picture, take a minute to analyze it and gather as much information as possible. All right, so here we have this picture, and it's some kind of an interesting looking creature. When you look at this picture and you read this title, Physalia physalis, you can immediately assume that the name of this creature is Physalia physalis. Now, if you cannot pronounce this when you're reading in your internal voice, don't worry about it, okay? Pronunciation doesn't matter in reading. So, first of all, you have to ask yourself, what is this? So, what is this? All right, Lizzie says, I love idiomatic expressions. Yeah. And Janelle says, I heard it in Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, that's a good series to watch for English, Janelle. Okay, so what is this? When you look at this picture, what comes to mind? What do you think that is? It's transparent. It looks like it's floating in water. It's got these weird tentacle-looking things. So Nick Hill says it looks like a jellyfish. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Jellyfish are often also referred to as medusa, right? Okay. So yeah, Angela says it's almost like a jellyfish. Okay. What's different about it? So it looks like a jellyfish, but it's not quite the same as a jellyfish. What is one difference that you immediately notice between this and your average looking jellyfish? Your average looking jellyfish looks like this. Okay. So that's kind of what a jellyfish looks like. This doesn't look quite exactly like a jellyfish. What's the difference? Okay, very good. So Hemant says, well, half of its body seems to be above the water. Yeah, I agree. So that's definitely one of the differences that I noticed right away is it looks like a jellyfish, but not exactly. Jellyfish are underwater when they're healthy and alive. And this one seems to be kind of floating half above the water. Okay? All right. The other interesting difference is jellyfish are usually radial in their shape. They look like a round disc. And this one here doesn't quite look like a round disc. It looks a little bit different. Preeti says the cilia are a bit different as well. So you mean the tentacles that are hanging down. Angela says, looks like its body is amputated. Okay. So now I would ask myself, well, what are we going to learn about this jellyfish? And if you have a reading passage about animals, it is a very good chance that these kinds of topics will be included, okay? So keep this in mind. So if you read about an animal, it is likely that the passage will contain information about its anatomy, okay? So it's physiology. All right. It's a good chance that the passage will include some information about its habits, so how it behaves, and yeah, absolutely, its habitats. I'm sorry, I can't read the Chinese characters. Welcome, by the way, to our group of members. Can you tell me your name so I can remember it for the future and I can refer to you by name? So whatever the Chinese characters mean, please. And it's a good answer, habitats. By the way, send me an email after the class so I can hook you up with your perks for becoming a member. And can you please tell me your name? June. Okay, June. All right. So, yeah, June, absolutely. Habitats. So, where does it live, right? And its habits. So, basically, its behavior. Okay? And there might be something about its reproduction as well. Right? For living creatures, that's very important. How do they reproduce? How do they continue their existence on Earth? Jaspal, welcome aboard. Jaspal, also send me an email so I can hook you up with your perks, okay? New members, that's important. So you can access those videos or practice exams depending on your level of membership. All right, so keep that in mind, all right? That will help you, okay? Let me just erase my jellyfish here. All right, and since you're already thinking about a jellyfish, at this point you should be thinking, well, jellyfish live in the oceans. What else do we know about jellyfish? So if we're thinking this looks like a jellyfish, right? Then we're thinking it lives in the ocean, which is a good guess. What else do we know about jellyfish? What are some common characteristics? Yeah, Nick Hill says it has tentacles. And what do those tentacles serve? What purpose? So, why do jellyfish have tentacles? Okay. Yeah, so Lizzie says they are transparent. Nick Hill says they are poisonous. Yeah, so... yeah, so they're used for defense, right? Poison. They sting. Sure. Yeah, to protect themselves. They're very old living creatures. Yeah, they're one of the oldest multicellular organisms, right? Absolutely. Okay, very good. Yeah, they're transparent. Okay. They're used for movement. All right, good. Very nice. So, once again, when you have a picture, take a moment, think about it. It will really help you to understand the passage. Don't just skip over it and ignore it, okay? That is not a good idea. All right, once we've done that, we can take a look at the questions, and hopefully the questions will help us to further understand the passage. Now, in the computer-based exam, it's really nicely organized because you have the passage on one side, you have the questions on the other side, so you don't have to do any flipping like in the paper-based exam, so you can just nice and easily skim over the questions. Only read questions that are in the passage. So for example, do not read multiple choice answers. Do not read true, false, not given, because that's a lot of information that is confusing. It's not in the passage. It's not going to help you to understand the passage. So again, we've got a few new members, so I'm going to make a note of this for you. Please take note of this, new members, if you haven't heard me say this before. So only read, review, skim questions before the passage which contain information in the passage. This means do not read true, false, not given, or multiple choice question answers, as these are not in the passage. Okay? Or possibly not in the passage. All right? That's really, really important. Kyber says, yep. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at what we do have. So here, the first set of questions is what's called sentence completion. So it says complete the sentences below. Choose no more than 2 words from the passage for each answer. So these are all in the passage. They're good. They're going to help you. Okay. This is a reading class, everyone. So make sure to read with me here. All right. And practice reading aloud if you can. Okay. It's good to hear your own voice while you read and you practice another language. So let's read this together now. So the Portuguese man of war's something acts as a both defense and attack mechanism. Oh, wow, look at that. Well, we just talked about the tentacles being poisonous. So there's a good chance that the word might be tentacles, but we don't know that. So don't put that in there, but it gives us some confidence that we're on the right track, okay? So Nomius has a something to the Manowar's attack. Nombias is also a very competent something which helps keep it safe from the man of war. Although they initially look like jellyfish, the Manowar is really, okay, surprise. So it's not quite a jellyfish. All right. The role of the something is as a sexual organ. So the reproductive cycle is likely going to be mentioned. Nombias' ability to live around the poisonous something of the Manowar is not fully understood. Okay, so it looks like tentacles might be an answer here as well. Again, giving us confidence. Now, we have some new words here, like Nombias, and we have the words man of war. Don't worry about words that you're not familiar with in the reading passage, okay? Here's a little interesting fact about the academic IELTS reading. The topics that they choose, the information that they have, especially passage 3, can contain words that would be new for 95%, 99% of any person sitting the exam, even a native speaker, okay? So here's a kind of an important tip for IELTS reading, especially the academic, is do not get nervous, or I should say anxious, and confused by new words in academic reading that you are not familiar with. Many of these, or some of these, I'll say, would be novel for native English speakers as well. Does anybody know why IELTS does that? So for those of you who are doing the academic version of the test, but also for general, does anybody know why they would choose a topic, especially for passage 2 or 3 that are more challenging, which could have some new words or new terms that are not familiar for either native or non-native users of English? Why would they do that? So why would are they just being cruel? Like, are they just trying to make life difficult for you, or is there some logic to that? So what do you think? Why would IELTS do that? Angelo says to test your ability to reading terms in English. Sammy says to check your comprehension. Understanding the main idea with new words is an important reading skill, says June. Yeah, so the idea here is that they want to test your ability, how well you can understand new words from context. Yeah, and it's because you will have to be able to do that in your college and university classes. So for those of you who are doing college, university, and of course work as well, right? Using the English language, you're going to be learning new terms, new words from your textbooks, from your class lectures. So you have to be able to figure those out from context. If you have to use a dictionary every time you hear a new word or you read a new word, that's going to be very, very, very challenging, right? So don't get anxious about it, okay? Kuiper's asking, what do we do if we don't understand 2 lines of the paragraph? It's the same idea, Kuiper. Even if you don't understand a whole sentence, just relax, keep reading, and as you read more and you use critical thinking, those sentences might become clearer, okay? All right? So it's basically preparing you for your university classes, or it's checking your ability to do well in your university classes. Okay, so here we have sentence completion. Basically, you have to, they give you a statement and then you have to choose from a list that's given here. And you can see the list is much longer than the actual number of questions, usually about twice the number of choices. And you have to complete the sentence with one of those choices. Now, again, the choices, it's like a multiple choice. Don't read the choices because, again, they can be quite confusing. So just read the question statement. Here we go. Read with me, okay? The relationship between the 2 creatures is best described as. All right, so this is an important sentence. I now know that there's going to be a relationship between 2 creatures that is described, all right? While the Namias is resistant to the venom, it something, okay? The Nombias' swimming patterns something. So there's something here called a Nomius that's swimming. Based on what we've read so far, what do you think is this Nomius or Nombias or however you pronounce that? Doesn't matter. For the Nombias, Manowar also serves as a. So by this time, you should have started thinking, what is this Nombias? What kind of a creature would that be? All right. And then I have some multiple choice. And again, multiple choice, don't read the choices, just read the statement. This is somewhere in the passage. 3 of these choices are not. So I only read this. The Nombias' main mechanism of defense is. What does Namias generally use to propel itself? Lizzie says it could be a microorganism. David says it's an animal that lives in or near the Manowar. Okay. June is asking, should I highlight some special words before we start reading the passage? No. June, I'll explain why in a second. So 39, 40, they're yes, no, not given. I'm not going to look at those because they could be confusing. Yeah, it's a common question, June. Many students ask this, like, should I highlight or underline any words in reading? So the answer to your question, June, is no. It is usually not a good idea to do this, as it will distract you from the overall information in the passage. What I mean by that is you will focus on the details and lose the main point. Some questions focus on the main ideas. Okay. Highlighting and underlining words is an effective tool for study in university classes when you're matching up information between your lectures and your readings. Okay, June? Even names, Jainil, I wouldn't highlight because names are really easy to spot. So names and dates are easy to spot without highlighting. Okay, so I think you're just wasting your time to do that. Okay, some people are so used to highlighting and underlining they just can't survive without it. If that's the case, maybe stick to what you know. But I think highlighting and underlining is most effective for matching information between your lectures, between your reading, so that you know what kind of points might come up on your future exam. It's not a good tool to do in a real-time exam with your reading. Okay? All right, June says that makes sense. So I'm just going to make that note so that you don't think I'm like this anti-highlighting guy that's like, never highlight. No, I love highlighting. I think highlighting does have its purpose, but it's not in the reading. So highlighting is an effective tool to identify key points that match between lectures and notes and reading in your college classes, which will likely be included in exams. So that's kind of where they serve their purpose best, in my opinion. Okay? All right. So now that we have an idea of what's going on here, let's start reading. But just before we start reading, there is one more point to remember, and that point is to visualize, okay? We want to see this information. It's physical. We can touch it. It's tangible. You can hold the jellyfish. Please don't actually touch a jellyfish if it's poisonous in the real world. But it's something we can touch. It's not an abstract idea. It's not like the last reading that we did, which was about why study philosophy. So here we're talking about an actual creature. You want to imagine, you want to visualize that you can see this creature. Maybe you're swimming in the ocean and suddenly there's this Portuguese man-of-war bobbing up and down, bloop, 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 by you, and you're going, wah! Don't panic. Don't start thrashing the water because, as you know, jellyfish have tentacles. So just swim away gently, nice and slowly, okay? So don't panic and don't get nervous during your IELTS exam. Don't panic, don't get nervous when you're swimming close to a jellyfish, okay? Those are synonyms between jellyfish and your IELTS exams. You have to stay calm in both situations, all right? Okay, so here we go, everyone. Let's do this. Let's read together. Again, with any words that are difficult or challenging, just read through them, okay? Read through them. So here we go. From the top, Physalia physalis, common name, Portuguese man-of-war, is a unique species of the class Hydrozoa. Several characteristics distinguish this species. The Physalia physalis is a free-floating communal polyp. Its powerful poison serves as defense and attack for the species. One type of fish, however, has developed a high level of immunity to this toxin. The Nomius granvi is capable of withstanding injections of Physalia venom 10 times the normal strength of that which kills other fishes. Due to this resistance to the venom and exceptional swimming, the two organisms have evolved to form a commensal relationship with one another. Even though we apply the term commensalism, the symbiosis between these two animals, the nature of interaction, is not exactly fitting of the term. As defined by Campbell and Rees, commensalism is when one organism receives benefits while neither harming nor helping the other in any significant way. By looking closely at the behavior, physiology, and symbiosis between Physalia physalis and Nomius granvi, we find out the reason for this misleading terminology. Okay, so now I know that we're reading about this Portuguese man-of-war, this fish, and the relationship between the two. I'm picturing this. I'm swimming around, maybe making a nature documentary on these creatures. Let's keep going. Don't stop to answer questions, just read, okay? You have about 10 minutes to read a passage, and that's lots of time, okay? The physiology of physalis is unique. At first glance, they appear to be jellyfish, but the Portuguese man-of-war is actually a polyp, a community of polyps belonging to the order Siphonophora, which gets its common name from its resemblance to an old Portuguese warship. The man-of-war floats with a gas-filled blue to pink translucent body called a pneumatophore, a part of a single polyp. This crest-like pneumatophore, which may attain a length of 20 centimeters, acts as a sail and is aligned so that the colony sails at 45 degrees to the wind direction. Polyps connect tentacles which are located on the ventral surface of the float. There are 3 types of specialized polyps. Dactylozoids that find and catch prey with poisonous stingers called nematocysts, gonozoid that reproduce, and gastrozoid that digest the food like a stomach. These fishing tentacles, sometimes as long as 50 meters, hang down like a drift net, combing the water for prey. Okay, so here, paragraph 2, the physiology of the man-of-war, the 3 types of tentacles or 3 types of polyps that are connected. So it's not actually one animal, but it's actually a colony of animals living together floating around with this bubble. What an amazing group of creatures living together. All right. So let's keep reading. Nomius grombi are tropical fish belonging to the ray fin fishes of the class Osteocythes. The fins, supported by long, flexible rays, are modified for maneuvering, defense, and other functions. The length of this fish at maturity is about 8 centimeters. The nature of the ability of Nombias to live among the venomous tentacles of Physalia has been likened to that of the relationship between sea anemones and anemone fishes. By the way, a sea anemone, I think somebody asked me that last time. A sea anemone is that interesting little creature that attaches to a rock and has these kinds of tentacles like this. It looks like a jellyfish that got stuck to a rock. Usually has a very pretty, colorful body, like a red, pink kind of body. And then you have you have fishes that swim in and around. It's nice pink kind of tentacles. Clownfish, if any of you have ever seen Finding Nemo, you know what I'm talking about. So those are the sea anemones. You can find those in most oceans. We have them here around the oceans in around Victoria here where I live. Yeah, it's good to know these words, especially if you like traveling. Okay. All right, so let's keep going. The relationship between Physalia and Nombias is arguably harmful to both organisms. They mutually benefit from one another, but at the same time, the symbiosis can be quite damaging to both creatures. In this sense, the relationship could be better defined as one of mutualism and parasitism. In mutualism, both organisms benefit. In parasitism, one organism benefits at the expense of the host. Okay. When the Nombias is weak, it may no longer be able to withstand the venom of the nematocysts. In one study, a freshly expired Nombias was offered to the Physalia. The carcass was immediately stung, taken hold of by a dactylozoid, and brought up to the gastrozoids. The Nombias, although resilient to the toxin, is not 100% immune. In the same study, the live Nombias began to swim more erratically and moved towards the carcass as the gastrozoids formed their characteristic bag and began to digest the fish. The live Nombias was then caught on the left side by one of the largest dactylozoids. This behavior clearly indicates how the symbiosis may deviate from the definition provided by commensalism. On the other hand, the Nombias has two distinct gains from its innate behavior with Physalia. As an experiment demonstrated upon introduction, the Nombias initially swam near the surface and around the Physalia in a large circular pattern in both clockwise and counterclockwise directions. This action protects the fish from attack. Most predatory fishes of Nombias therefore avoid the Manowar or sustain serious injury and often death. Second, the Physalia provides a food source for the Nombias. In the mentioned experiment, about 15 minutes after the release, the Nombias swam closer to the Physalia, paused as if inspecting it, and then began to nip at the edges of the gonozoids. Physalia is able to regenerate the tentacles, and so this ingestion is rarely fatal to the organism. So they kind of both eat each other by the sounds of it, depending on the situation. Okay. All right, Nombias' capacity to survive near the poison tentacles of the Manowar is only partly due to the resilience of the toxin. The main reason for this skill is certain swimming behaviors. Instead of developing protective mucus, the fish depends on its swimming abilities as its main mechanism of defense while living in the venomous discharge of the physalia. The Nomius fish can maneuver with precision to avoid stinging nematocysts. This is the case whether the physalia is stationary or in motion. Rayfin fishes have a physiology which enables maneuverability. The fish displays relative ease in maintaining a safe distance from the dactylozoids, even with absurd sharp changes in direction. Nombias specimens use the pectoral fins for propulsion, while the pelvic fins are spread like a fan. The caudal fin is apparently used for only short, fast darts. This swimming behavior appears to be well suited for existence with physalia. It is therefore apparent that, rather than developing an ability to inhibit the discharge of physalia nematocysts or prevent them from stinging, Namias uses its swimming abilities as its primary means of defense while living in the venomous drift net of physalia. Okay, so it might seem like, oh, this is a really challenging passage, lots of new words, lots of information. Yes, but at the same time, there's a lot of deep explanation of ideas. So here, simply put, this fish maneuvers and swims really well, and that's what mainly protects it from getting killed or from getting stung by the venom of the Manowar. Okay? Yeah, Lizzie says, this passage is so long. Lizzie, when I sat my exam in February, there was one passage that I think was a little bit longer than this one. So be ready for it, okay? I think what they say is 700 to 900 words for the passages in the academic reading. So on the short end, it'll be around 700 words. On the long end, it'll be closer to 900 words. Okay, so good question, let's say. They can be longer. Okay, you still have to read it. All right, you do not need to review it, Hamant, 2 times, just 1 time. Often when the passage is longer, some of the information is just explained more. Like here, we had a lot of explanation about the swimming pattern of this fish. Okay. All right. Here we go. Taking into consideration all of the interactions involved in the symbiotic relationship of these 2 organisms, the appropriate term to assign is difficult. The facts state that the commensalism of these 2 aquatic creatures is one which incorporates beneficial as well as harmful factors depending on the circumstance. It is this alternation of prey-predator roles of Physalia and Nombias that creates a definitive difficulty. Perhaps the best term we can apply for the moment is that of commensalism, given that both animals receive some benefit at varying times during the relationship. Kyber, very, very soon we will have a series coming out that will show me take the official IELTS exam, and you're going to see all my scores there as well, so I don't want to spoil that for you. Okay, so here we go. Now we have these questions, these fill in the blanks. Now, before we do this, I want to just state one important point here, okay? So, and you have to keep this in mind, okay? So keep in mind that even if a reading passage, especially in the academic, seems quite challenging, the questions and answers are not as difficult as a college or university exam. Okay? It's more like high school. Okay? So don't panic. It's not going to ask you questions that are so challenging where you have to kind of like really reread and be like, okay, this and that. You might have one question where you might have to do a bit of math or put together information, but it's not going to be the same level of complexity as what you will see in your college. So it's good practice for that reason. If you have a lot of difficulty with a passage like this, you will find your college, university classes very challenging because they will have more reading, more content, and more challenging questions. Keep that in mind, okay? All right. Okay, so here we go. Let's read and answer. The Portuguese Manowar's something acts as both a defense and attack mechanism. What's the best word? So reading this passage, it was mentioned quite a few times, and hopefully you visualized it. Keep it simple. What's the best word here? Kyber says the venom, all capitals. Yeah, absolutely. So the word venom here, it works. It's good. Okay. Or the other word, of course, would be poison. But venom is good. Yeah. Okay. By the way, if anybody's ever in Canada, Australia, US, there is what's called a poison control or venom control center. Poison control center in all of these countries. So if anybody accidentally drinks something that's poisonous or gets stung by a snake or a jellyfish, you can call the poison control center and they will know what to do right away. All right. So keep that in mind when you're traveling to these countries. Poison Control Center. It's kind of like an emergency contact number. By calling 911 in the US or Canada, you can reach that, okay? All right. Number 28. Nombias has something to the Manowar's attack. Okay, so Manowar has this venom, the fish. Okay, when you read Nombias, you should just keep in mind the fish. Okay, whoop, there he is. Smiley little fish. What does the Nomius have to the Manowar's attack? David says immunity, but it's not immunity, okay? Because in several cases, the passage says that the fish is not immune, okay? Janil says it's resistant, and Kyber agrees. Yeah, okay? All right. Lizzie, I am reading the comments. I'm not sure if you're hearing me, but I am. Yeah, it's resistance. Okay. I'm always keeping flow, Lizzie. I can't always be reading comments because then the class would have no flow. Okay. So as an instructor, it's a balance between reading comments and going with the flow of the class, right? Okay. So not immunity, careful. It's resistance. Okay, it's resistance. So it says that it's not immune. Okay, all right. Number 29. Nombias is also a very competent something which helps keep it safe from the Manowar. There was basically a whole paragraph that was dealing with just this answer. So for this question, you should not have to review the passage. When you're doing a good job with your reading and your comprehension, you should be able to answer 60 to 70% of the questions without looking at the passage, right? David and Kyber says swimmer. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the fish is a very good swimmer. Okay, and the passage even describes how the fish is able to swim so well. Okay. Yeah, Lizzie, you cannot be running back and forth from the passage. It's okay to do that about 30%, 40% of the time for the questions, but not for all of the questions. If you do that for all of the questions, Lizzie, you're going to be in trouble. Okay? All right? Angelo, how can I answer without looking at the passage? Well, throughout the reading, I'm thinking critically, like, what am I reading about? Where's the, the critical thinking. So what is the paragraph about? Why is it talking about that? So here, I know that it's some kind of an action, right? So Namias is also a very competent something, which helps. Competent means able, okay? It's a very able swimmer. Right? Okay, number 30. Although they initially look like a jellyfish, the Manowar is really something. Okay, so here, this one, I might have to look at the passage again because especially it's a new word. I don't know it. But I do remember that the physiology of the Manowar was somewhere in the beginning. So here it is, the second paragraph. The physiology of Physalis is unique. At first glance, they appear to be a jellyfish, but the Portuguese man of war is actually a polyp or community of polyps. Okay, so you can write polyp or you can write community of polyps, okay? But it's two words, so be careful. If you write community of polyps, that's three words. So your best answer then is polyp, okay? Always pay attention to the instructions, and it says two words maximum from the passage, okay? So is really a polyp. Okay, the role of the something is as a sexual organ. Okay, so more about the physiology here of the Portuguese Manowar. Now, this word I definitely don't remember from the passage. And I do remember that they talked about this, but they don't write sexual organ. They write something else. What do they write? Kyber says gonozoids. Somebody was paying attention. What do they write instead of sexual organ? Because I know I read that, but not exactly that. It was a paraphrase. So I'm going to go back to the physiology. Okay. And that was here. Yeah, very good, Jainil. Yeah, Jainil, that was good. Rashika, good. Reproduction. So reproduction, to reproduce, right? So it says this crest-like pneumatophore has a sail 20 centimeters. Polyps connect tentacles, the ventral surface. There are three types of specialized polyps. Okay, dactylozoids that find and catch prey. Okay, nematocysts, and gonozoids that reproduce. Okay, so gonozoids, lots of O's, 4 O's. Make sure you get the spelling right. Gonozoid. Okay. So, gonozoid. So the role of the gonozoid is as a sexual organ. Perfect. Got it. All right. Yeah, so Kyber, be really careful with spelling mistakes, especially with specific terms. All right, number 32, Nombias' ability to live around the poisonous something of the Manowar is not fully understood. All right, this one I can get without searching the passage. How do you, so what is it? What's the missing word here? Poisonous what? Yeah, Lizzie, sound it out. Sound out the vowels, absolutely. Yeah, Angelo, to get those really, really high band scores, you should read the full passage. When I did my official IELTS exam in February, and I'm going to be doing another one here in Victoria soon, I read the whole passage when I did it in February, and I found that that was really the only way to have clarity for all the questions. Okay. All right. Nick Hill and David say tentacles. Yeah, tentacles. And again, I can check the spelling if I'm not sure on the spelling, but it's tentacles. Okay, Preeti has it with an I, tentacles. I think it's with an A, but it's in there somewhere. Okay, so let's see. By the way, I would not check the spelling of tentacles if I'm confident in the spelling. If I'm not sure, I would wait until I finish all of the questions before checking for the spelling of this. And I think it was somewhere near the beginning. Okay. Anyways, so check it. I think the spelling is correct. So I'll leave it. Spelling does count, okay? And again, for something like that, like if you don't know the spelling for sure, and you've spent 20 minutes on this passage, then what you can do is you can put a little asterisk, a little star beside the word that you're not sure about the spelling. And at the very end of the reading section, hopefully you still have a couple of minutes left, you can check the spelling of those words and skim read for that, okay? All right. Kyber says, that's a tough one. Hope I don't get one like that. Kyber, the bad news is that there's a very good chance that you're going to get a passage that is as difficult as this in your IELTS reading exam. I got one that was the passage topic was about some kind of assistance for employees with families in Australia in sociology, and it was quite a complex topic. Even though I studied sociology in university, I had to read really carefully and practice some really good active reading to make sure that I got all of the answers correct. So the bad news is you will, in the academic IELTS, get a passage of this difficulty. Okay, so these remaining questions I will leave for you members to do on your own time, okay? You can find this exam in the third test, passage 3, on the website at aehelp.com for academic IELTS, not at gieltshelp.com, because gieltshelp.com has general IELTS reading questions, okay? So this is for the academic IELTS. It's exam number 3, passage number 3. That's it for today. Make sure to read lots, practice lots, understand vocabulary from context, use your visualization, use your active reading skills, and join us at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. You can use this code R4TYJ to get that 20% discount that I mentioned earlier if you don't have access to the premium course. I will be back in about 30 minutes. Starting a new task 2 question. It was a good question that was sent to us by one of our students just the other day. I thought it was a great question, so we'll look at that shortly. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria for now, but hopefully I will catch all of you in 30 minutes. Bye for now.